I'm Daniel.
And welcome to Competitive Interrogation. Today we're joined by
Senor Lizardi. I'm a Spanish teacher here. I've been here since 2001, so this makes it my 24th year here. I teach Spanish 1 and Spanish 2.
Today we're playing Mario Party Superstars. We'll see how well this goes. I haven't played this in forever, and he hasn't played this ever. So
I don't play video games. I'm not a gamer.
So you were no cheat, right? So it's just me versus the one that so it's slightly attack, and you're gonna try and survive while I try to murder you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, if you could learn another language, what would it be?
I think Romanian. It's the more difficult of the Romance languages. I know a little bit of Italian. I can make do with French, but Romanian is one that kind of escapes me, so I'd like to learn that one.
What are some of the hobbies that you have outside of school?
Dyeing is one of them. I used to play drums, so I still have a hand drum, and I like to go to drum circles from time to time. Like every couple of months I'll find a circle of like boomer hippies, and I'll just join them and play for a few couple hours. I like to walk. I like to do a lot of walking while listening to audiobooks. Kind of helps me meditate. And believe it or not, I like to go on drives and go window shopping, especially antique shops. I like to look at antiques and vintage clothing. It's just kind of like a hobby of mine. I don't buy the stuff, I just like the way it looks. Are we still playing? Okay. I'm still the dinosaur, right?
Yeah.
How has your experience as an immigrant affected how you see the world?
It's made me a little bit more receptive to how people. You'd think that would make me more receptive as a Spanish teacher with how kids struggle with the language, but it kind of doesn't. I have a lot more empathy for people who are English learners. I'm not as likely to be impatient with an English learner struggling with English as I am with English speakers struggling with Spanish.
And for those that don't know, you're originally from what country?
Puerto Rico, which means I'm born an American citizen.
If you could buy only one thing free of charge, what would it be?
Maybe health. Every other joint has been replaced with an artificial one, so if I could just go back and just say, just give me like no pain, no arthritis.
Do you find a difference between teaching underclassmen and upperclassmen?
I haven't had the opportunity to teach upperclassmen much. I have taught Spanish 3 a couple times in the past. I have noticed that underclassmen are a little bit more malleable, more willing to put in the effort. By the time I get to juniors and seniors, they're a little cockier. They think they know a lot more than they actually do, and they're not as willing to put in the effort. I'm not as easy to intimidate. Freshmen, I look at them wrong and they're crying.
How do you think the other staff members would describe you?
I think other teachers might describe me as maybe an introvert or antisocial or kind of a loner. I don't really socialize much with other teachers. I don't go to the teacher's lounge. I don't really know many teachers here. I think maybe Mr. Dvorak and I are buddies, but other than that, everybody else is a friendly acquaintance. I don't go around and socialize with other people.
Cool.
Did I win? Oh no.
You didn't actually move your cursor.
So what was the biggest culture shock you experienced when coming to the United States?
Growing up in Puerto Rico, where I'm from, especially the area where I was, you had to be really careful, lock your doors, not go out in the evenings, because you left yourself a little vulnerable to being a victim of a crime. And when I came here, I lived in Hollywood for the first year of my life, and that city is open 24 hours a day, and it was wild to me to be able to walk at 2 a.m. down Hollywood Boulevard without anybody mugging me.
What is your most cherished childhood memory?
My most cherished childhood memory. My dad taking us to it was a botanical garden. It was the University of Puerto Rico's botanical garden. My dad was a professor there, so he had access to that, and he would take us on weekends. And one time he took us, and we took like canteens and stuff, and we pretended that we were doing this. We were exploring, and there were the jungle, and there were tigers and all kinds of stuff. And I was really tiny enough that I was able to buy into his, the whole imagination of it. And it's one of the few memories that I have with my dad that is really cool, because it wasn't an easy relationship. I don't want to get too personal about it, but yeah, I don't have a whole lot of good memories of my dad, but that's one that I can always hold dear.
So you mentioned that you like to play the drums.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite like genre of music that you like to play?
What I play is rock. What I like to play is jazz. Jazz is difficult for a drummer if you've only grown up playing rock, but it swings so much and it's so groovy that I wish I had the means to play it.
Is that different? Does that differ from the music you listen to?
Yes. Sometimes I go on these tangents where I listen to, there's this big band, jazz big band, new jazz called Lee and the Press On Nails. And they play like a lot of standards, but it's like acid jazz, to just make it more just crazy, right? Like faster, or like they have like a jazz version of Hot for Teacher or Van Halen, and some of the classics in jazz, some of the standards, they just jazz them up and make them faster and funnier. So I'll go through a spurt where I'll listen to just those guys for like a month, and I'll get it really into the jazz vibe, and then the next day I'm listening to something else and I forget all about it. And since I don't have a kid or I don't play drums, I don't get to practice that anymore. So I got an apple and a cantaloupe. I think I'm rocking this one.
Do you have a favorite fruit?
A favorite what?
Fruit?
Oh, guava. Every day.
Really?
Yes, guavas are great. There's a tree. If you go down D Street, the first house you passed after the access road is, I don't know who lives there, but they have a guava tree. And at the beginning of the school year, it's in bloom, and then all the guavas just fall to the ground and they just get smashed. And I'm always so sad that I walk by and I never happen to catch one of those guavas before it falls into the ground, because I'd love to get me some of those.
You know, I come into school last year. I don't have a first period this year, but last year I came into school and I often saw you strolling down the street.
Yeah.
Like, does that taking walks, is that?
It's both for, it's for exercise, one thing, to help me stay in shape, keep my limbs, in order and strong, because as I mentioned earlier, I have some joint problems. Also, because I'm kind of believe it or not, I'm kind of a hyper person. I won that one.
Yeah, you won. I was waiting for you to say something.
I'm kind of hyper, so walking gets a lot of the nervous and jittery energy out of me, especially at the beginning of the day. So by the time I start second period, I'm super mellow. And it's also because I really got because I have a bad neck. I love to read, but I can't do this for very long. So I had to migrate to listening to novels. So I do a lot of Audible, but I can't, because I'm hyper. I can't just sit and listen to a novel. So the only time I can do it is if I'm walking or riding my bike or something. So the two things kind of feed off one another. I can't walk unless I'm listening, and once I start listening, I want to know what happens the next chapter and the next chapter. So sometimes I'll go for, especially on weekends when I can, I'll walk for over an hour, and sometimes I'll walk twice a day just to be able to keep up with my novel. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you so
very
much.
welcome. Thank you for having me.
And back to
Back
the
to the
studio.
studio.
Yes.